Okay, so we're recording now.
Cool. But we podcast now.
Right. So, God, it feels weird saying hi everyone, because I know that no fucker's going to listen to it.
See, right. I'm laughing, but I know it's true. And at the same time, that level of self-deprecation is probably what's going to set us apart from the other arrogant podcasts that are out there.
Hi everyone, we are the...
We don't fucking know.
We don't fucking know. We're going to go with Rough and Ready Up for the time being, because that's all we can think of. But I'm Al.
And I'm Chris.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about games and stuff.
Yeah, because we're boring bastards. So, yeah. Basically, the premise of the show is we're going to be talking about what we've been playing recently and what we think of said things.
And probably going off on many a tangent.
Yeah. So, yeah.
We're going to do that a lot and all. We're just going to sit there going, yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be weird pauses, awkwardness, and probably a bunch of times where we go, I don't really have anything to say to that. So
there's going to be a lot of times where we'll probably say something and we'll sit there going, we can edit that out.
Yeah.
But we won't.
Basically, you've got to meet us halfway. So, yeah.
You have to understand that you may be expecting something of quality, but quite frankly, you're in the wrong place for that shit.
Yeah. Right, so do you want to start, Chris? What have you been playing recently?
I've probably been playing the same as the majority of other people. I've been playing Arkham Knight. I've finished it. And you've not played it yet, so I'm a bit like, how much can I talk about?
We'll do that thing that most places do and say spoilers if you're gonna spoil anything. And
it's gonna be a pretty brief conversation if I say spoilers and you stop listening.
Yeah. No, I mean, in purposes for like the first podcast that we're recording, I don't mind having it spoiled for me.
Well,
I've heard, to be honest, I have heard that if you know your Batman, you can pretty much guess who the Arkham Knight is from the first time you see him.
Yes,
so.
It's lazy as all unholy hell, because they made this huge deal about him being a new character, and he wasn't. And
right.
the fact that one of the pre-order bonuses is a story mission featuring the actual character he's supposed to be, and it is him, is really, really fucking annoying. And it's like all the story missions have been really shit. You know, like the DLC ones, like the Harley Quinn one and the Red Hood. And from what I've been reading today, the Batgirl one that everyone was getting really hyped up about is meant to be a bit dull. They all just seem to end, which is the same as what the game does, actually. It's just kind of... One of the things I wrote down about is, well, actually, my first note is fucking and then lazy, all caps. And it's
pretty damning.
Well, no, it's got this thing where it's sort of, the game starts off and you're Batman and Gotham's threatened with a fear toxin attack by the Scarecrow and they're evacuating Gotham and you go diving off a roof like Batman. But you go diving off a roof on a next-gen console, so it looks really pretty. And you're like, my God, I am flying about the place here, and this looks pretty cool.
Well, that seems to be one of the things that really stood out for me on this one. I mean, I really followed it up until probably about 2 weeks before it came out, because I had a baby. But
your wife did, not you.
Yeah, I personally didn't, but I was there for it. But it just how good. It looks just...
Oh, it is a pretty game. It's a very pretty game. But
like, everything's got this sheen on it that... I mean, the last one's had... I mean, I remember looking at screens for Arkham Asylum when that came out and thinking, that's how I imagine Batman.
The reason everything looks so bloody shiny is because all it ever does in Gotham is rain. It's like the entire time you're playing the game, there's this really ominous thunderstorm, and then there's just bits where it's absolutely pissing it down whilst you're in Gotham. It's really nice to put like this really clever. I say clever, but it's fucking rain. It makes Gotham feel a bit more oppressive because it's a big city that you can kind of gliding around it is brilliant because you go flying about the place. And you know, like you had the grapple boost on Arkham City for getting around.
Yeah, and
on this one, it's got upgrades, so you can, instead of like tapping X to boost, for example, you'll double tap it and you'll get 2 levels of boost and go flying. And then you can get one where I think you're tapping it like 4 times by the time it's fully upgraded, and you're higher than the highest building. And you're just kind of like, right, well, they've put the Batmobile in, but they've also put in a much, much better way of getting about. Because to make it kind of feel bigger than it actually is, they've kind of built Gotham up as opposed to out. You know, like you've heard all the talk about the ending, how it just kind of ends, or if you get 100% of everything, you get the proper ending.
Yeah.
That kind of, the way that works is really stupid. It's kind of like, the Riddler trophies shouldn't be 249 of them, or whatever it is.
But then again, there was an absolutely ridiculous amount of them in Arkham City. I remember getting, I think it was about 50% of them, and I just thought, I can't be arsed with this.
Yeah, well, it's like, on this, there's 2 things with the Riddler, because there's a side mission with Catwoman, and that ends with him turning up on a robot,
the Riddler,
fighting him. Yeah, in a robot, like, mech suit thing. You fight him a little bit, and then he goes through a big trapdoor in the floor, and he's like, if you want to fight me, you've got to get all my riddles. And it's like, and I was like, basically, he's just sealed himself underground, and the only way to get him back out is with solving his riddles. I'd be like,
alright, no, let the bastard starve.
Yeah, just you didn't take any food down there with me. You didn't have like a Greg's are out. Just fucking leave the riddles.
Yeah.
Fucking leave him.
The real riddle is how's he going to get out there?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing is,
all he does the rest of the time is pop up on billboards and call you thick, and you're just like, fuck off. No one cares. But the way it starts off is you go to this old orphanage, and Catwoman's in the orphanage, and you're saving her, and she's got this exploding collar on, and you have to do 9 challenges essentially that are like big riddles to get these keys. And it's a bit like, those could have been almost like little mini games in themselves, instead of it being like one big environmental puzzle, which they all were. If you'd done just like riddles to open doors and that sort of stuff, and you're almost like, she was trapped in the orphanage and all the keys were in the orphanage, and you kind of had a mini Arkham Asylum thing going on, like really creepy, and loads of riddles and environmental stuff in there, and you isolated all the Riddler stuff to just being like one of the Gotham's Most Wanted side things.
Yeah.
But not all he's gone around and put fucking trophies on a roof somewhere. Because,
where's he getting these trophies from?
Oh, you find out he's got an army of robots that have been putting them out for him. And there's a serial killer in this one, and I thought it was going to be Zaz, and then it turned out it was someone else. And I think that might be the best side quest, because it is fucking terrifying when you actually see him, because he's weird. And he's like a like the darker, kind of just more insane Batman villains.
Yeah.
He's like that, but...
It's not Calendar Man, is it?
No, it's Professor Pig. It's a big fat bloke who sings opera with a pig mask on his face.
Yeah, that's pretty creepy.
It is really creepy. He throws meat cleavers at you while you're fighting these dudes that he's done shit to.
Jesus.
But because like, this is the big spoiler thing, is you're tripping balls for the entire game, and you've got the Joker mouthing off at you the entire time.
Alright, so
And he,
it's kind of like you're being haunted by the spirit of the Joker.
Yeah, you're almost
kind
like,
of.
yeah, and there's like the story elements with it, because there's a bit where it's, like I was saying to you the other day, because we talk outside of doing podcast stuff, that
Yeah.
there is, I'd love to see Rocksteady do like a survival horror-y FPS.
Yeah.
Based on a bit that you do in Batman's head as the Joker kind of thing. And it's because there's lots of times when you play as someone else very briefly, because there's a bit where you play as Commissioner Gordon.
I bet that's pretty cool.
Granted, you just walk to a lift, but you're still there playing as Commissioner Gordon. This is pretty badass.
It's really strange because, like, for me, Arkham Asylum had one of the best openings of any game I've ever played. I can't remember being quite as excited from playing the opening section of many other games than I have from Arkham Asylum.
There's a really nice callback to it in this.
Really?
Yeah, really nice.
I'm going to have to get on that then, because that was it for me for a while. That was like, Arkham Asylum probably still is one of my favourite games of last generation. And it just seems that everything they've done ever since has not quite lived up to it.
Everyone's kind of gone, we'd love to see more of Gotham, we'd love to see more scale, and it's like, the thing that worked best for it was a lot more intimate, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was a lot smaller, but it's like, this weakness with this game is once you've finished the main story, you're not being haunted by the Joker anymore. And you get really awesome little touches that you don't necessarily see until you play it through again, where when the Joker's with you, as it were, bits of Gotham change. So it's like, in the old Joel Schumacher films, there's the big statues and stuff.
Yeah.
You can be flying past one of those, and for a second, the face on the statue is the Joker. Or you'll be tearing along down the road in the Batmobile, and some of the random guards will be the Joker. And you start seeing him everywhere, and there's bits where just everybody around you is the Joker, or you get a trippy bit where you're in a room full of people you've just knocked out, and they all start getting up, pointing at you and laughing at you in your head.
God,
but they all start turning
incredible.
But they all start turning into the Joker, and it's like there's loads of stuff like that. And I'm really tempted to start it through again and just fucking ignore the main story just to keep that going as long as I possibly can, because it is all the stuff with the Joker in it is sublime. Yeah,
at some point.
What are you playing?
Me, right? Well, I've been playing quite a lot for a guy who's just had a child. I've actually been playing a lot. I've not been neglecting the child.
We'll clear that up right now, but
I'm a good dad.
The thing we need to point out here is babies sleep a lot. What are you going to do?
Exactly. So I decided, because I'm trying to save a bit of money, I'm literally only going to be buying games that I am really interested in. The next one is obviously going to be Metal Gear Solid 5. So I've not bought a new game since Bloodborne.
Yeah, it was in Bloodborne, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bloodborne was the last game I played and finished. So I've been going through a lot of older stuff. And I realised I've had a PlayStation Plus account for about a year and a half now, and I've not really played anything from it. So I decided to go to one game that I have really fancied for a while, and that's Transistor. From
the dude who did Bastion, isn't it?
Yeah. And I have to say I'm very, very impressed. Very impressed, because I didn't really get on with Bastion.
You're not a fan?
Well, it's not that I wasn't a fan. It's just, it didn't grab me as much as it seemed to quite a few people. I
loved it, didn't I? So it got its hooks in me. But I love games where you kind of, that weird thing where the narrator will almost adapt to what you're doing.
Yeah, well,
But I love that.
See, I like that about Bastion. My only problem with Bastion was, to be fair, probably my only problem with Bastion was I didn't play it for long enough. If that's one thing that I've taken away from Transistor, is like I really probably should give Bastion another chance. I own it on enough platforms, so.
I always like after playing both, I do prefer Bastion to Transistor.
Yeah.
But I think that's because it requires less thinking. It's not that it's like I'm sat there going, I need to think strategically here. But it's more a case of Bastion lets me hit things with a hammer. And at times, that's all I need in a game. I'm a simple creature with simple needs. I can think about a game till the cows come on, but at the same time, I need to hit stuff in the face.
Mainly with big, heavy objects like hammers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can do that in Transistor. That is something that you do quite a lot of. In fact, that's the meat of the game, really. But what I loved about Transistor is mainly the... Well, there's a lot I love about Transistor, but I was really surprised with the combat. Because, other than... Even in Bastion, like I say, I've probably not played it enough, but it did seem that it was a bit... almost, I don't want to sound wanky, but like too simple. Like it was essentially, like you say, just hitting things with a hammer, and that's fine. It's cool. It was satisfying, but it just didn't grab me. Whereas in Transistor, you're kind of encouraged to experiment with all the different abilities, and that almost kind of well, it's actually called turn, but like where you pause the action and you plan out your next few moves.
Yeah, it's basically, I'm hitting this guy in the back because you hit them all in the back.
Well, yeah, with the way that the upgrades work, one of the most powerful things that I've gleaned from it is that putting the mask ability onto something rather than use it as an ability for itself is very powerful, because backstabs do a ton more damage that way. But
you backstab for massive damage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way it works.
But that's one of the things I like about the fact that every ability has 3 different functions in a way. So you can equip them as ability that you can use, like an active ability, an activated ability that you have to physically initiate.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're almost a bit like having it as a skill shot or like as a passive, isn't it? So
yeah. Well then,
oh god, just use LOL terminology.
Well, then you can get that same ability and attach it to another ability to upgrade it. Or later on, you then get the passive slots, which they give you kind of like a passive ability. Like, for example, Mask. If you use it as an activated ability, you can go invisible for a bit. Then if you upgrade it, it makes backstabs deal more damage. But I can't remember its passive ability. I think its passive ability... I can't remember it, but I think it means every time you kill something, you then go invisible automatically for a short space of time. I think that's right. But I just love the fact that you've only got 10 abilities, but in effect, you can use each ability in 3 different ways. So it really does encourage experimentation and really kind of making you think about how you're going to use these abilities. So say one strategy isn't working for a particular boss or a particular enemy set, you go to an access point, change it round, you've got an entirely different way of playing the game, essentially. And also, this is probably my absolute favourite thing about it, other than the way the game looks, because it's absolutely beautiful, and the music. Oh, Jesus, the music. I've been listening to the soundtrack for the past 2 weeks. It's that bad. I've actually been listening to the OST for 2 weeks. It's amazing. But
well, music's quite a big plot point in the story with it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, because
it has to be good.
It reminds me a lot of Ghost in the Shell, and as you'll probably get to know over time, Cyberpunk and especially Ghost in the Shell it's a pretty big deal for me. So yeah, it really did kind of touch that for me. But when you equip an ability in a particular slot, each ability is associated with a character from that world, and it initiates kind of like a part of their backstory. Alright, it's only text, but it's really well written, and there's some really engaging stories.
The abilities are people, aren't they? Yeah, it's weird.
I don't really want... The story's quite convoluted, and to be honest, it is one of the... almost one of like one of the worst points of the game, because the story is very convoluted and it's not very clear. I mean, I don't mind ambiguous storytelling, but it does get to a point where you're just like, right, I don't understand what is actually happening at the minute. I don't know why this is going on.
Yeah,
but
I need the story in a game to be... It sounds really tossy, but the thing that really bugged me in a lot of games lately has been games where they just kind of end.
Yeah.
Like, Batman just kind of ends, and Shadow of Mordor, I know you hated it, but I hated it more because it just kind of ends. And boss fights as well. Stop doing shit boss fights, game.
Yeah, you don't need to have boss fights in unless they're there for a reason. That's pet hate there. But luckily, Transistor's boss fights are quite fun, I would say, for the most part. I mean, I think I've got the last boss coming up soon, and no boss fight so far has disappointed. And it's just great to look at. Like, everything, like aesthetically, that game is just bang on for an indie game. Like, obviously it's a different kind of pretty to like Batman, but it's just really, really good. I'm so surprised with it. I'm surprised I didn't play it sooner, for a start.
Well, it was one of those games that kind of completely passed me by for the most part until it was a freebie on PlayStation Plus.
And I almost wish I paid money for it, Chris. I wish I paid money for it.
Do you not think that's the biggest problem with PlayStation Plus, though, is whenever a game comes out that's just a digital-only thing on it? I don't know if it's the same for people on Xbox Live, because I've never had Xbox Live when they've been doing free shit for people.
Yeah.
But do you never look at a game when it comes out and go, I really want that, but I'm going to wait until I get it as a freebie? Because I did it with Infamous First Light, and I'm doing it now with Helldivers. I really want to play that game, but I'm sat there going, the second I buy it, it'll go on a list to be on PlayStation Plus, and I swear to God it'll be the month after I've bought it, and I'll want to kill someone because the PlayStation Network is expensive.
But yeah, Transistor, absolutely
amazing.
Great. Really, really surprised by it. Really surprised. Yeah, I mean, I've got plenty more I could probably say about Transistor alone. But I don't think I should, because it will just sound like I'm gushing. What else have you been playing then, Chris?
I've been playing a couple of other things. I've been playing The Witcher.
Still?
But
yeah,
I've still been playing The Witcher because it's just that frigging big. It's a superb game. It's probably my game of the year.
I mean, it's not a problem with the game itself. It's more of a problem with me than anything. Is that it seemed far too big for me to really wrap my head around. I mean, I like big games to a certain extent.
It's one of those games that's set out in a way where you can kind of get around it sounds weird, but get around the bigness of it.
Yeah.
Because you can just sort of go, right, I'm gonna, like, I've played it where I've gone on and gone, it's weird, you know, like when you play an MMO and you go, right, I'm getting this done tonight, or right, I'm getting this done.
Yeah, it almost feels like you've got an objective in that world that you need to achieve, that you can't leave it alone, kind of thing.
Yeah, and for me that has been hunting Witcher gear. So you're getting like the different Witcher specific armor, and it's just, in doing that, I keep finding that you'll have, because they've got this really cool thing where the quests all exist within the world, and you will just happen across them.
Kind of like with how in Red Dead Redemption, the first few times you wandered through the desert and you saw those people getting executed, and you realised that you could interact with that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the stuff already exists. So I was doing a quest where I was looking for something in a cave in Skellige, which is like the kind of Skyrim-looking element of the map, which is, in my head, I'm going, this is what Skyrim should have been like. It as a game setting on its own, it'd be superb. But I ended up in a cave, and it had this huge, like, shrine built out of a boat wreckage. And Geralt starts going, what the hell's going on in here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as you go through this place, he starts talking about, he thinks it might be this sort of monster, or he thinks it's this, and I ended up investigating it whilst I was literally just looking for a box with some Witcher gear in it.
Yeah.
And I ended up fighting a big monster on top of it, because that's how most things end in The Witcher, you fighting some form of big monster. I ended up fighting this weird flying harpy siren thing.
Yeah.
And killing it, and it turned out that in finding this bit of Witcher gear, I'd done one of the monster contracts. Because you can kind of happen across stuff.
Yeah, there's no specific order in the way that you can finish it. In fact, you can do the end of a quest without having to do any of the rest of it. And
yeah, it's brilliant. It's kind of like, the exploration on it forces you to do things, but it's kind of, it's one of those games that's kind of got some really cool little moments in it. Like, instead of it being a game where the game world's huge but really sparsely populated, it feels populated in almost a way that makes sense. Well, like, people gravitate around towns. You don't just find a random bloke in the middle of nowhere unless it's part of something else. It's like you go into a tiny little hamlet. Like, the best way to think of The Witcher, if you're playing it and you're kind of stuck for something to do, is you go where people are, because people all have needs and stuff for you to do, things they need help with. But it's kind of like the distances between the towns it sounds really wanky, but it feels right, because you're kind of just riding along on your horse and you might happen across something else, like a monster nest or something. I mean, the best thing I've found so far was I was riding around the bottom end of, I think it's Velen, and there's still stuff on that bit that I can't kill now, and I'm much further on in the game than I was.
Yeah.
And I was just tearing along through a forest, and it was night time, and it was dark, and it was pissing it down, and then it started thunder and lightning and all that sort of stuff. And then on your little mini-map, you see loads of little red dots around you, and there was a wolf pack legging it after me, and there was a werewolf in the wolf pack.
Bloody hell.
And I was just like, I'm on my horse, being chased by this stuff. My horse isn't scared. Ran through, like, all the woods, and got to, like, a clearing. By this time, I've managed to go in my inventory, put all, like, the oil and stuff on my blades and stuff I needed. Jump off the horse, and the wolves don't come out of the wood, but the werewolf kind of lumbers through the trees and into this clearing on top of a cliff. I ended up just decapitating a werewolf on top of a cliff in the middle of a thunderstorm with a moon behind me, and I was just like, this isn't even part of the game, and it's, like, fucking epic and just so much better than
most other things.
It's like that. It was like this, like, little 5-minute thing that I've happened across is so much more dramatic and so much more interesting than the majority of set pieces in modern, like, AAA games.
Well, one of the things that I got from The Witcher was how much I found myself saying, God, Skyrim has so much to learn from, well, The Elder Scrolls has so much to learn from this game. And, I mean, I loved Oblivion. I think Oblivion for our, like, group of friends was like, that was like a real watershed moment, really.
We had a friend who played it so much that the game timer on his save reset.
Yeah.
That's that's some gameplay right there.
That's dedication.
But it was that thing where we all played the arse off that game, and it deserved it. But Skyrim just simply put wasn't as good.
It just fell short. For a start, I think
It was too serious.
Yeah, it was definitely too serious. And as much as, it was there was technical limitations in Oblivion. Like the same voice actor doing a million different people in the world. I liked that about it. It felt quite quaint. And
it was quirky. I liked it. It was like,
yeah,
it was one of the charms of it. It was the same thing with Fallout 3 though, because it was the same voice actor.
Exactly.
You're like, Jesus Christ, he's been through the ringer.
It's not only is he, he's seen Mehrunes Dagon be resurrected in Cyrodiil, but now he's gone through a nuclear apocalypse. Poor bloke.
It's like, that guy cannot catch a break.
Yeah, I really do think that the next Elder Scrolls game needs to look at what The Witch has done and kind of go, this is next gen, not just kind of the Elder Scrolls but prettier.
I kind of think what all the stuff that they're talking about adding to Fallout 4, so like customizing elements of the world and having like a customizable element to your character, that sounds really weird, but you know what I mean, like the power armor.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of trick that out a bit and that sort of thing. I think they're testing stuff for the next Elder Scrolls. Like I think they're going, how receptive would people be to all these sort of ideas in an open world game that isn't based entirely around mining? And it's like, it's kind of, I remember when open world games weren't all about survival, they were about leveling up and killing shit. And it's kind of, I still think it's my favourite genre is, I mean, RPGs are my favourite thing anyway, but a big open world kind of high fantasy setting, I think that's what I like about The Witcher so much, is that because Skyrim didn't get its, like, open world hooks into me as much as it did other people.
I mean, it definitely had its
I
moments.
haven't had that for ages in terms of what I'm playing. Like, Dragon Age tried, and I loved Dragon Age, and I loved Inquisition, but I was just sat there and I was playing it going, yeah, this is good, but holy shit, I can't wait for The Witcher to come out. Because it was like, you looked at it and you went, it was almost like, one of those games where you sort of see it and you go, they are ticking off stuff that I like.
Yeah, they've kind of like got a list with your name above it and gone.
Yeah, it was like the gaming it was the gaming universe going, we're really sorry for Two Worlds. And that's what it felt like to me, because I remember how excited I was going.
I think everyone was excited for Two Worlds.
This sounds amazing. I can't wait. I think
that was the moment when I actually realised, like, Two Worlds was the moment when I realised a lot of games publishers are liars. I think that's the minute they kind of broke me. I think.
Yeah, you kind of watched me get broken by that game, though, because we were all kind of sat at a friend's house, and I don't know if you've played Two Worlds, but you make your character, and then a completely different character goes through the tutorial mission and walks out the dungeon at the end, inexplicably looking like the character you designed. And it doesn't tell you that this is a thing, so what Alex and two of our friends were subjected to was me at a friend's house, stood up, pointing, disgusted at the screen, going, that looks fuck all like the character I designed, getting out and going, oh look, there's the character I designed, and then the game crashed. And I was sat there going, alright, fair enough. All I could think the entire time playing that game on the Xbox was, it's 360 gamer score on one of these achievements. I never got it.
No.
I never got it. I gave up because the game glitched and wouldn't load the boss fight in. So I was like going into the arena for this big boss fight, and the boss wasn't loading. His health bar was, but there was nothing to attack. So I was like, fuck this.
I think I played. I think I played a tiny bit of Two Worlds 2. I mean, not Two Worlds 2. I didn't even bother with that one. I played a tiny bit of Two Worlds 1 and just kind of. I was a bit broken after that.
Sequel? Do you know what I mean? It's like some games you go, why has that got a sequel? It's like, how the hell did we get to Sacred 4? Things like that. I was like,
no.
Is it Sacred 4 they're on now? I don't know.
I don't even know anymore.
I remember getting that box set thing from Game that had Sacred 2 in it, and we bought it because there was a Blind Guardian gig in it, and we thought that would be really funny. And then I couldn't find the tavern they were in. And I was like, I've just spent money on this. This is abysmal.
Just sitting there, disgusted, looking at it.
That is essentially how I go through life. Is a lot of games I'll play them like Arkham Knight, AAA title, really positive reviews. At the end of it, I am sat there with a look of absolute contempt, going, I shouldn't have finished that. Or going, this gets worse. That's the thing that bugged me. It gets worse the more of the game you finish, because it starts making Gotham feel really, really empty.
I felt that about Arkham City, though. That it just felt empty. But the Arkham games and Assassin's Creed games are exactly what I dislike about open world games. They may as well just be a giant corridor, you know, that you just go from one side to the other, filled with pointless tasks that you're not interested in finishing, and they don't impact the game. I mean, at least in Arkham Knight, if you finish all the tasks, you get kind of the true ending.
Which is lame.
Well, it is lame, because imagine if they did that in Assassin's Creed, you had to collect all those fucking feathers to get the true ending, just to realise that they're going to do another one next year. It's depressing me thinking about it. I don't want to talk about Assassin's Creed anymore.
No, I think I'm going to gush about The Witcher, though, because what you were saying then about pointless tasks.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing. I write things. That is what I do, and I can appreciate really good writing in a game, and the writing in The Witcher, even on little incidental things, is amazing. I've just spent like bits just sat there, and there's been bits where I've been horrified at what's happened, or there's been times where I've been laughing my head off at something that's really funny, or I've sat there going, God damn it, that's pretty clever.
See, that's one of the great things about The Witcher as well. One of the things that struck me the most about it was the world was horrible, the world was cruel, but there was no... It's not that there wasn't a silver lining. You know what I mean? It just presented it how it was, and if things ended well, they ended well. If they didn't, life's shit.
But yeah, there's side quests in this game that are longer than the single players of like your Call of Duties and your Battlefields and all that sort of stuff. It's like you'll play through something like there's a serial killer quest where it's just an offshoot of the main story. It's like Dandelion's like muse or whatever she is. She gets attacked by a serial killer, but she survives and gets away with it. And you kind of go, she's really nice. She's been friendly to me. She's been helpful to me. I'm not fucking having this. Some fucker's about to die.
Yeah.
And you're going through it, and you're finding these bodies, and you're almost doing kind of an autopsy with people, and using the Witcher senses kind of like detective vision. And you've got a lot of stuff like that where you're kind of building the picture of who this guy is, and you get really close to catching him at one point, and he gets away, and he slips up, and then when you finally get hold of him, you fucking maul him. Like, because of the different kill animations, and the trophy I had equipped from a kill was like 20% chance to dismember. I cut the guy in half, and it was just like, yeah, that'll do. But he was killing people with a fire poker, for Christ's sake. I was running around after that with a magic fire poker instead of a sword. I was like, alright. So, going into a fight shouting someone's about to get poked probably wasn't the best thing to do. But...
it's one of the things that I think a lot of fantasy games miss out on. It did it with Dragon Age as well. It was too formulaic in the choices it gave you. You could almost see what the outcome of every choice you were going to make was.
Black and white, the choices.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm not particularly arsed about the next Mass Effect, is because I kind of had my fill of the way EA does, or BioWare even does their RPGs with Mass Effect 2. I mean, I love Mass Effect 2, but I think Mass Effect 3 kind of turned me off, and Dragon Age Inquisition compounded that fact with the fact that it was just so boring. The choices you were given were so boring, and you could see them from a mile off. Yeah. Whereas The Witcher, this is what I mean, it's so kind of unpredictable.
The best thing with The Witcher is it doesn't treat you like you're a simpleton. When you're given dialogue options, sometimes it will give you a slight hint as what that might lead to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go, the one in red is bad, the one in blue is good.
That's what I mean.
It doesn't go, here you've got two choices. One of them is stamp a kitten to death, the other one is kiss a baby. And it's like...
It's the ambiguity, and it's the fact that it recognises that it's okay to be ambiguous. I like that.
It's shades of grey and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of shades of grey, the game also has one of the funniest 50 Shades of Grey references in a game ever. Probably the only 50 Shades of Grey reference in a game, actually, and it's really clever how they did it. Because it's, when you talk, there's a really funny quest where you're trying to find Dandelion, and you're talking to all the various women he's been sleeping with.
Yeah.
And one of them is like, she does this weird roleplay thing, and she's basically bits from 50 Shades of Grey, and Geralt and this dwarf are just ripping the piss out of her when she's not there, going, this is really weird. Who'll be into this kind of drivel and all this sort of stuff? And they're just like, go on, CD Projekt. You tell them horny housewives what's what. And it's just
it ends with a thumb in an arse.
Doesn't everybody Wednesday? But it's that thing. I've been playing big games like that at the minute, so it's kind of in the Elder Scrolls Online, because for some reason I hate myself.
Because you thought, this is too good. What I'm playing right now is too good. I need to lower myself again.
I need to lower my standards. And there's bits of it that, to be honest, it's got some nice ideas in it. But at the same time, I've got two characters on it. I'm sat there going, oh Jesus, I've got a main. Oh Jesus, what have I become? And the weird thing is, my second character is an orc warrior. I thought, I'll play something really vanilla.
Yeah.
Because it's more fun than my main, which is an Argonian. Because I was tired of everyone racist towards them and Khajiit in every other game that the Elder Scrolls Fingers ever made. But, unlike the majority of furries I know, I don't have a sex dungeon, so I had to play as a lizard instead of a cat. But it is basically every fantasy MMO you've ever played, with an alternate first-person mode, skinned up with Elder Scrolls art, and it has a sound department that could afford Michael Gambon and John Cleese to do voiceovers. That is all it has for going for it.
I almost feel sorry for John Cleese, but then again, he signed off on it, so he's part of the problem.
His character's probably the best thing in it. He's a mental old knight with a pan on his head.
See, now if you'd said he's Sheogorath, I would have been, I'll buy that right now.
No, the stuff with Sheogorath is the Mages Guild. It's all to do with him trying to get books off him because he's pissed off the Archmage and vice versa, and they can't always dig up one another. It's just quite clever, but there's big kind of, it's the one good thing is it's kind of got those big sweeping guild quests in it still.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much play that. I've not played any part of that game with other people. I mean, I know it's a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, but like every other MMO, I have played it on my own because I am a very solitary creature. And the other problem I have is every time I try and play an MMO with people, they feed me lies and misinformation, and I end up playing on my own anyway. So, yeah, we're all playing dwarves. We'll meet you in this bit. All right. We didn't pick dwarves. Didn't fucking tell me that, though, did you? And it's that thing where it's sort of, I'll be sat there with everybody else I know on the other side of the map, or in a different group, or a different guild, or in some cases a different MMO. The time I bought the wrong Guild Wars expansion.
I really don't have any time for MMOs at the minute.
I don't have any.
I wanted to play Final Fantasy XIV. Wanted to give it a go. Downloaded the free trial. Still sat there unopened.
Fair enough.
Never going to play it.
But yeah, instead of playing some big stuff, I've gone a bit smaller as well.
Yeah.
Like the only other thing I've really played this week is Rocket League, which
I've heard so many good things. So many good things.
Right.
I mean, I hate football, and I'm not all too keen on cars. So a game that contains the two of them should repel me.
You play it, and you kind of... The premise is stupid, because you are playing football with a car, but you are playing football with a car that can jump, and double jump.
And can wear a hat.
And can wear a hat. This is important. Your car can wear a hat.
It's like they've taken the best bit of TF2 and gone...
Put that on a car.
Put on a car, yeah.
And it's actually really, really fun. It's one of those games that if split-screen multiplayer was still a thing, and...
Chris, you're talking to my inner child now, split-screen multiplayer. I'd kill for those days, mate.
Split-screen multiplayer was still a thing, or he is hoping, touch wood and all that shit, that when they do these virtual reality headsets, you know, like frigging Oculus and Morpheus and Trinity and Neo and all that bollocks, you'll be able to use those almost as like your screen.
Yeah. So
you could have 4 people playing a game with that just as your screen.
But I want to look at the people that I'm playing against.
You can look at them. And what's even better is they'll look like a dick because they're wearing a virtual reality headset.
Oh, God. All I can imagine is my neighbours looking into my front room.
Just a bunch of people playing a freaking computer game with virtual reality headsets on, jumping around like a bunch of dickheads.
And the worst thing is, as well, it will happen.
I don't want to permeate a stereotype here, but virtual reality and all this stuff where people are moving around and playing games is the exact problem I have with a Wii. I am a gamer. I like to sit down. Am I gonna move when I'm playing a game? My plan is to sit on my bed or sit on my sofa and just chill. I don't want to have to run around like a tool to play a game. The reason I'm playing a game is because I was crap at physical activity. Don't bring it into my games. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like, the thing about Rocket League is, getting off that tangent before I start having high school flashbacks, is that it was fun because you kind of just tearing around in a little car, driving into a ball and trying to score a goal with it. And I imagine that's how sportists feel.
I've heard that it becomes an entirely different game when you've got 2 teams of people that are coordinating. And I think that sounds pretty interesting. That's something that I'd like to give a go.
We should give that a go. We should start a Rocket League team.
Rocket League team.
We can when we've
playing a Rocket League.
And when we've got a name for a Rocket League team for a Rocket League, we could probably use that name for a podcast because this doesn't have a fucking name.
I know. I like Rough and Ready Up. I don't know about you.
Can we call it Rough and Ready Up the Rocket League?
Give it a go.
Give it a go.
We'll give it a go. See how it goes.
Us 2 in a bot.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, that's pretty much all I've really been playing. Oh, and Killing Floor 2, but that's because Christ.
Yeah, I looked at it and I kind of thought, I love Killing Floor.
Killing Floor 1, the original Killing Floor, is the game on my... this is the thing you need to know. on the PC, I played the unholy hell out of Team Fortress 2. We have a friend who's played the unholy hell out of Team Fortress 2, and we both sat there talking, going, no one game is ever going to surpass the hours we put into Team Fortress 2, and I've put double the hours into the original Killing Floor that I have Team Fortress 2. I am... It sounds really big-headed, and it's probably not even true, but in my head, I am a monster on that game.
It's how I think of myself when I think about me playing Street Fighter.
Leave the thing about cutting the in-jokes in, but cut the in-jokes out.
Yeah.
Because that will just fuck with people.
People think they've missed something.
Exactly, and they'll listen to it again, it'll make my numbers look better.
It'll be like Her Story. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you've been playing that, haven't you?
No, I've not. No,
I've not. Cut. So,
no, I'd like to, but I've not bought anything new at all the past month, I think. No, I've been playing To the Moon. Have you heard of To the Moon?
I haven't heard of To the Moon, you big hipster you.
It's quite old now, actually. I think it came out around 2011, but it only recently got some DLC for it. It's very, very short. It's only like 4 hours long.
I'm going to Google it.
I mean, another thing I'm incredibly passionate about are films. And some of my favourite films of the past few years have been the Pixar films. And the only way I can describe this game is a Pixar film. The same feelings you get from films like WALL-E and Up, but in a video game. It really is something special. When I think about this game, I get that really weird feeling of I want to stop what I'm doing and go back and play through it again. And that's something I don't get very often. Usually I'm kind of, I'll go through a game once and then I'll be done with it kind of thing. But this game really is something special. Not even from a mechanic point of view, because if I'm honest, there is very little game in it. I mean, it's essentially, it comes down to like almost a puzzle game. And I use the term puzzle very loosely because it's click on object, go find another object, click on that object. It's very, very, very simple, the actual gameplay mechanics of it. But the story is probably the best story I've ever come across in a game in terms of actually making you feel something. I don't think I've been quite as moved by a game ever by any other game. But it is simply a great story. The basic premise of it is the two characters that you see the most of are two doctors who can go into people's thoughts. Who can go into people's memories when they're dying and make them fulfill a wish, essentially. It's very, very simple. Like most of the Pixar films, the story is incredibly simple, but really nice, and really kind of has loads of little complex beats in it, but the overarching story is just so kind of simple. It's just impossible to not get moved by it, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like, I've just read a couple of reviews and it sounds like something I need to have a look at.
Chris, as someone who's interested in writing in games, I really do think you need to play it. It's, I don't know, man. As weird as it sounds, like I was getting a bit choked up playing it. It's that good. Like, it's really, really good.
See, this is the thing. I always feel like a bit of an emotionless monster when I'm playing games because there's bits that people go like, "Oh my god, I cried when I saw this. Oh my god, this happened." And I was like, I don't cry at films. I don't tend to get choked up at stuff. The only thing that's ever come remotely close to making me sad in a film, and this again goes back to Pixar, is when Wall-E gets crushed.
Yeah, that was sad.
That for me, I was like,
not even the beginning of Up.
Right. The beginning of Up, everybody told me it was heart-wrenching and all this sort of stuff. And I watched it, and I was like, that, in a nutshell, it's not heart-wrenching. That's what actually happens to people. They have gone, hello, children's film, behold life. And it was like...
You're a soulless monster, Chris.
Exactly. I was sat there going, I'm a soulless monster.
You're a husk.
They've told this really beautiful, encapsulated, tiny little section of someone's life as like a love story in like 5 minutes. And it's like, everyone's done the thing which was still a better love story than Twilight and all that sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, fucking is, because it's an actual story. And kind of, it's not Twinkle Toes and Emotionless Face break shit down. But it's like, it's that thing where you kind of, stories have, like, there's bits of stories that will resonate, and like, there's bits in games where I'll be like, yeah, that was awesome, or, oh, that's really sad. But there's been bits in games where I've gone, oh my god, that's awful. Or something that it's like, it's been sad, but it's never, like, I've never sat there and, like, actually cried at a game.
I wouldn't say I cried. I'm going to try and claw back some of my masculinity.
Or welled up, that's what I mean. I've never welled up at a game.
Oh, I definitely welled up.
I've stood up and been like, holy shit, that's amazing.
It didn't make me stand.
No, I will say that now.
My arse was firmly planted on the seat my entire way through this game.
I was upstanding for the end of Arkham City. Yeah. That game got me out of my seat, just stood there going, you're fucking what? And in Metal Gear 4, when you're crawling down the microwave hallway?
Oh, yeah.
I was pretty much upstanding, hammering triangle.
I was standing up for that one.
Throwing a salute the entire time. It's like, oh,
I was standing up for that one because I was developing really bad RSI during that section. So,
I'm just waiting to see how many like young nerdy types develop repeat RSI, just because they've looked at Quiet and decided that's all right.
She's a fucking dude.
Is it a dude?
Well, I don't know. I'll put it this way. Kojima said when the obvious you don't treat women right in your game franchise arguments came up to him, he said, you've not played it yet. There's a bit more to her than meets the eye. I think it's a guy.
I think it's Chico.
Yeah, it's probably Chico.
It's Chico or Paz.
Can't be Paz. Actually, shit. Spoilers. Can't be Paz.
or fucking can it?
Yeah, true. It is Metal Gear. It doesn't matter.
It's like comic book death. No one's dead.
Yeah, no one's dead. They're a clone, or they've got nano machines, one or the other. But yeah, To the Moon. It's really, really good. I mean, I wasn't expecting much from it. In fact, I came about it. I was listening to the Kane and Rince Sound of Play podcast, and I think it was Tony Atkinson was one of his soundtrack picks was from To the Moon, and it's just a very nice melody played on a piano, and I kind of thought it was so unlike anything else that was on that podcast on that particular episode. I decided to do a little bit of reading around and played it. It's brilliant. Really, really is. I think it's certainly something that most people like. If someone wants a decent story in a game or says games can't tell good stories, I will point them to the moon and say you're fucking wrong. It's really good, really good. It's only 4 hours though, but
I quite like the idea of when people say games can't tell good stories. I just like the idea of hitting them in the face with a game. Just
a game.
Just any game.
FIFA.
no, this is the thing. It's like stuff like FIFA and stuff isn't supposed to tell a story. What that is it's just people want to play a football game. It's for what it is and for who it's aimed at. It's perfectly fine, but it sounds weird. But it's like it's not necessarily that you want to play a game with more substance when you want a game with a story. It's just you want
to be told a story.
You want to interact with a narrative, and there's certain games that do that really well, and there's games that do it differently. Like the big open world games make you do other stuff around it, and they pull that narrative out over a really long time. Or you've got something like Bloodborne, where there is a story, but it doesn't really tell you it. You have to almost figure it out for yourself.
In many ways, that's one of the things about the Souls games in general that is most interesting to me is the story and the fact that everything is very much deliberate in those games, like enemy placement, item description, that kind of stuff. And it's really interesting as to where plot points come up. Basically, that's one of the best things about those games.
But then you've got other sort of stuff like your FPSs. They story-wise, they're kind of. I mean, suppose even things like Uncharted. The writing in Uncharted is great, and the stories they tell are great, but they're a lot more focused and a lot more film-like, which is why I love them. I mean, they're probably my favourite series of games, or definitely up there on that list.
Yeah.
Which is why the Uncharted collection I'm pretty hyped about, and Uncharted 4, obviously, but it's that thing where it's kind of the story in them is almost more important than the gameplay in places. Like, I forgave a lot of like the issues that Uncharted 1 had in comparison to, say, Uncharted 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because the story was really good, and because if Drake hadn't been so well written and Sully hadn't been so well written and the voice acting hadn't been so damn good, I don't think they'd have got a sequel, because I don't think it would have been as popular. I think it needed to be.
Well, I remember playing. I remember when I first played Uncharted, I was really, really surprised. I mean, again, I came to the party late on that one. I think I bought it when it was on its reissue. The Platinum reissue.
Oh, I'm waiting for them to bring Platinum into this. They need to bring Platinum back. Granted, there's
nothing on it. Nothing now. It's
actually. Do you know what you'd do Platinum with this time round?
What?
I would put all these HD remasters and re-releases out on it straight from the off.
I'd like to see. Well, I don't think that's going to happen because PlayStation now. It's on PlayStation anyway. Xbox, I could see it happen. Actually, no, I don't. Actually, yes. Yes, I probably could see that happening on Xbox One because of the backwards compatibility thing. I can see that could be something that they might do.
I think Sony will blink on that. To be honest, I don't
think they will. Sony, as much as
it'll be in the next console.
Yeah. As much as I like Sony, I mean, they didn't blink on the PS2 stuff, and the PS2 had. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the best library of games that has ever existed. Like, game for game, there is no system near it that has so many quality titles.
That's true.
There are. I'm not saying it has the best games ever. I'm just saying that the amount of good games that it has, there isn't really anything that touches it.
The only reason I still have a PS2 is it is pretty much a little JRPG machine.
Yeah.
Because it was like there was so many games that even when the PS3 come out and we were all
still playing Persona 4 then.
Still playing Persona 4, and then I got all those Shadow Hearts games like Covenant and New World one. They're brilliant. And then I tried Rogue Galaxy out and hated it.
I don't think many people liked Rogue Galaxy thinking about it.
I got to a point where I was playing as a giant space dog, and I was fighting a guy, and I couldn't kill him. It didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter what I did grinding wise. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. Nothing worked. Nothing killed him.
I think you could have ended it there. It's Rogue Galaxy. Nothing mattered.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think there's a lot that could be said for a lot of games to be more like the stuff that's gone before to a degree, but instead of it just being, we're going to take an old game, we're going to make it shinier. It's like, no, take some of the ideas that worked really well and then just improve on them. That's what you're supposed to do. You're the next gen.
I don't know. I think it's coming. I think this gen, there's still so much for us to kind of see, and there's still so much to come. I don't
know what it is. Is it dev time takes much longer now, which is why they've kind of gone shit remake stuff? I mean, the only remake...
I just think it's because it's much cheaper, and it's much more of a sure thing to say re-release something like, I don't know, something like Street Fighter 4, for example. Just slightly upgrade just slightly, up the resolution on it. You don't really have to do... I mean, I'm not a programmer. I don't know what goes into it and what doesn't, so,
That's it.
Well, yeah, so to do something like that, but it has to be much less effort has to go into that than making a game from scratch. I mean, I would... Saying that, there are still games on the PS3 that I've still got and not played yet. I've got... For example, right now I'm looking at Max Payne 3, which I really should play because Max Payne's great.
I just keep thinking that, like we were saying about the remake stuff, the only remake that I'm kind of looking at and going, holy crap, that looks like it's probably going to be worth a play, isn't the Final Fantasy remake, because we've not seen anything of that yet properly.
No.
Is that Ratchet and Clank one they're doing?
Yeah.
I've seen how good that looks.
I've not seen it. I'm gonna be honest, I've not played a Ratchet and Clank game.
To be fair, they're worth a look.
I've heard.
If anyone's sat there now going, casual, get the fuck. They're amazing. they're actually really, really good fun. Like mechanically, they're really solid, and they're always really pretty looking. And this one just
are they Insomniac? It was Insomniac.
Yeah. This one's it's kind of weird how they're doing it, because they're doing a Ratchet and Clank film, which is the story of the first game.
Yeah.
And they've kind of done this weird marketing thing with this one where they've gone, okay, well, we'll do a film tie-in. But the problem we've got is the game for the film tie-in we've already released. So we'll remaster the game, make it better, put loads of new stuff in it, all new engine, loads of different things, and like, it's essentially what the original Ratchet and Clank could have been if the technology had been better.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, it's that thing where they've kind of gone, we've looked at like the old script and gone, oh, we can do these bits now, oh, we can do this, oh, we've got new ways of doing this, and we can add these ideas that we wanted to include in, and it's kind of like the film tie-in game is the remastered director's cut kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They've kind of...
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
They've kind of gone down that idea, which is if they're going to remake games, whenever they go, oh, we've completely redone the graphics, or we've completely redone the lighting engine. It's like, I don't give a shit about the lighting engine. I've already played the game. Give me something new to go along with it.
Well, that's one of the reasons why, before I picked up, well, just as I was picking up Bloodborne. No, it would have been just after I picked up Bloodborne. Yeah, so what I said before was a lie, but I forgot. I picked up the Dark Souls 2 reissue, Scholar the First Sin, but that's simply because I hadn't played any of the DLC on Dark Souls 2. So that's what I mean. I will buy a remaster
if there's something worthwhile to it.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna buy, I don't know, fucking. What's another one? Like Sleeping Dogs. I'm not going to get the Sleeping Dogs remaster because I've already played Sleeping Dogs. I don't want to play it again. what's the point? It's like with the God of War one. Why would I want to play God of War 3 again?
Yeah, it was, granted, stunning game. Absolutely love that game, but it's that thing where it's like, I wrote down a list going into this of the games that are coming out that I'm actually looking forward to.
Yeah?
And...
Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, well, I've got, like, the Uncharted collections on there, because to get a PS4 as a penniless copywriter, I had to sell my PS3. I had to sell my games collection. And that included the Uncharted games, which, as I've already said, are my favourite games. So the fact they're doing the Uncharted collection, and then Uncharted 4, means I can have them all again, which is the universe, once again, being bent to my will. But I look at everything else on this list, and you've got Metal Gear 5, sequel. Fallout 4, sequel. Just Cause 3, because I'm a child. And it's...
There's nothing wrong with it. Just Cause is probably the best kind of open world game.
Just Cause 3 as well. They've released some gameplay footage today, and it just looks nuts.
Yeah.
Like my fiance looked at it and was like, "What is this?" And I had to explain it to her. And she was like, "How come I've never played these games?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Not lived.
And we were straight on YouTube, and I was straight on showing a Bolo Santosi. And she turned around going, "What accent is that?" And all she got was me shouting Bolo Santosi in that accent in her face, and then explaining that I have a voice acting scale because I'm a huge nerd. And it is the Bolo Santosi scale of shitness. And at the top end, you've got Bolo Santosi. And at the bottom end, like, on the scale of shitness, you've got Bolo Santosi at the very top. That is the worst piece of voice acting I think I've heard in a while. In modern games, this is. And then at the very bottom, you've got Nolan North on a bad day. And it's just kind of... Other than those sequels, then I suppose Star Wars Battlefront's a sequel as well.
Yeah.
The only things I've got written on this list that aren't sequels are Mighty Number 9, which is a spiritual successor. And the only other game on there is the Transformers one that Platinum are making.
Oh, that Platinum are making. Yeah.
Because it just looks bonkers.
It's Platinum Games. It's going to be good. I mean, I know I'm a fanboy, but it's going to be good. And the worst part about it is all the naysayers fucking know it's going to be good. That's the thing.
I watched some of the footage that IGN have got of it, and they had one of the writers from the game, and one of the devs, and the producer, and the guy who does the voice of Grimlock, who, when he did his Grimlock voice, I was like, holy shit, Grimlock's the Cookie Monster. And it was that thing where it just kind of... I was looking at it and going, this just looks like the kind of game where when you were a kid and you were big into things like Transformers or Power Rangers and stuff like that, this looks like the game you wanted to play. And I mean, I'd love to see Platinum have a crack at something like a Power Rangers franchise game. But I don't think, because they're a Japanese company, aren't they, Platinum?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we'd see it over here, because it'd be the Japanese version. It'd be the Super Sentai thing, so you wouldn't really see it over here, which would be really sad, but I bet it'd be amazing. Because you'd have the mech sections, and you'd have fighting on the ground, and all manner of
like everything, to be fair, the majority is... I don't have a Wii U, so I haven't played Wonderful 101. But I really, really do rate Platinum. The one... See, now, I always cite Platinum as a developer that they're among my favourites because they don't overextend. They've never once gone, oh, do you know what would make Bayonetta better? Open world. It's like, no, they know what makes Bayonetta good. So they go, we're just gonna run with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, I've noticed that whenever Japanese games companies experiment, it doesn't necessarily pan out right. It's like Devil's Third is getting absolutely panned in previews.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you're a bit like, I mean, I don't really like listening to previews and stuff anyway, because I think you should always make your own opinion up on a game. Because otherwise you'll never play stuff.
Definitely.
But it's that thing where it's kind of, it's getting hammered that much. They're saying that it's been a labour of love for the guy, and it's just getting panned, and it makes me really sad because the dude did Ninja Gaiden, and you're a bit like, you've got to respect that, but it's kind of, he's experimented a bit too much, and it's kind of become a bit of a vanity project.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think that's kind of like a lot of the kind of stuff that comes out of Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I think that's almost what happens.
But that's like, oh, go on.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, with the whereabouts of Hideo Kojima being as ambiguous as it is, I can only imagine that now that he's not with Konami, we're going to get some Kickstarter stuff from him, and
I think
that guy I love Metal Gear, but that guy needs an editor. And if that guy is completely on his own, just going, I'm Hideo Kojima, I'll think up some mental shit, I'll just put it in a game.
I think
I'm worried.
Do you know what I think he's doing?
What?
Because I'm sure someone told me that in Japan, you kind of, if you come up with an idea, you own the IP to it.
Well, he doesn't own Metal Gear.
He doesn't own Metal Gear, but he still owns Zone of the Enders.
Oh.
I'm sure he still does, so I bet if he's doing anything, he's touting that round places.
See, I've always thought...
And imagine if he was touting that to Platinum.
Now, that's a match made in heaven, if you ask me, because Zone of the Enders is one of the most criminally underrated games of the PlayStation 2 era, if you ask me. Jehute is the best mech. I don't care. I don't care how many people say I'm wrong. Jehute is the best. But yeah, I think that would be absolutely brilliant. But I'd like to see him go back to some of his older stuff, like Europe never really got a proper release of Snatcher. I'd like to see a release of Snatcher. I know it's old as hell, but I'd like to see it. AD Police. I'd like to see it. Was it AD Police? I don't think it was AD Police.
I still...
Police Notes. Not AD Police.
What do you think
Police
he's going to do? Because, I mean, I've been reading a lot lately about, like, the Japanese games market's moving a lot more mobile, so it's like things like Level 5 and stuff are perfectly placed for that, because they're already brilliant at handheld games, and they're one of my sort of favourite developers.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of... You've got them, and you've got Square Enix doing your Dragon Quests. So Square's always going to be one of my favourite developers, because, Final Fantasy fanboy, but they need to win back some trust at the minute. But it's kind of... my favourite developers all kind of fall within a certain remit. You've kind of got Naughty Dog, because I'm a huge Uncharted and Crash Bandicoot fanboy.
The problem is as well, like, I don't think anyone can dispute Naughty Dog are pretty much top of the ladder at the minute. I don't think a game's come along since The Last of Us and really kind of made people who don't even play games want to go, I want to play that game. You know what I mean?
Well, I think your top tier, like, it's not even tiers, is it? It's kind of, it's a bit like when people like certain directors, because I'm always going to be interested by stuff that Platinum and CD Projekt and Naughty Dog put out, and anything that certain bits of EA put out. Because, I mean, there's been a bit of news this week that, Jade Raymond, who was the community manager or the producer or something on Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
The one that when the game came out, everyone just went, oh my god, she's fit, but she works in games, what? And it was a bit like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
She's working for EA now, isn't
she? Yeah, she's at a studio at EA with Amy Hennig, who wrote the first 3 Uncharted games, and they're working on Star Wars stuff. And it's just like,
could be something special.
It's like, people tell me that, and I go,
towers in it.
Oh, I bet there's towers. but you might be able to knock them over with the Force.
I don't care. It's still a tower. I don't fucking care.
So, have you played any tower defense games lately?
No, because it's got the word fucking tower in it. When Tower of Guns came onto PS Plus, I didn't download it on principle. because it had the word tower in it. That's how bad it's getting for me. I'm rapidly losing the plot, Chris, when it comes to
hatred of towers.
Yeah, it's becoming a problem.
Cool.
Because if 1313 came out and it had towers in, I mean, I saw 1313.
Wasn't 1313 set in a tower?
Probably.
It wasn't. It.
But if you tell me that now, it's physically churning my stomach. I'm literally having to clench my fists in rage. It's that bad.
It's a tower, man. It's a tower. It's okay.
It's a fucking tower.
It's okay. It'll be fine.
Fuck you, Ubisoft.
So, what are you going to be playing between now and the next podcast, do you reckon?
Depending on when we record, because we've not really sorted a schedule for that kind of thing, I'm going to be playing Shenmue. I've recently hooked my Dreamcast up again, and I've got my copy of Shenmue, and it's a game that I've never finished, and I want to see what all the fuss is about.
Alright, well, I will save my controversial opinion on Shenmue for the next podcast, then.
Yeah, well, that's going to be... from what I've played of Shenmue, I like it. I don't see the big deal with it, personally, but I like it. Maybe I came to it too late.
There's some bits on the Kickstarter for it where he's saying, like, he invented QuickTime events, and I just, in reading that, I was like, I'd keep that to yourself, mate.
That's yeah.
That was all I could think. Was just I wouldn't be shouting about that one if I were you.
It's the only thing. A lot of Santa Monica Studios in the background just going, yeah.
Santa Monica Studios in the background going, press square to cut his fucking face off.
Yeah.
Or hammer triangle to invent lesbianism.
Don't get me started on God of War. Too late for that.
It's too freaking late for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and play Shadow of Memories again, because I've not played that game for years. And I seem to recall one, I think it was Christmas, you got me the PSP version, the American PSP version.
Yes, I did.
And I've not actually played the PSP version properly, so I want to.
I was about to say, if you turn around now and say you've never played it before, I'd be like, I bought that about 4 or 5 years ago, if not longer.
No, it was one of the first games I played on my PS2.
Still in the cellophane.
Yeah, it's one of the first games I played on my PS2, and I loved it. So I want to see if it goes back, if it holds up when you go back to it. Really. One of the things I've done, Chris, actually, which is something I recommend you do if you want to seriously see how much of a wasteful human being you are, is go back and look at your pile of shame, all the games you haven't finished that you've bought. And
well, I could do that, but I traded in all my PS3 games, so what I have instead is a torrid reminder of a trophy list. And it...
you can get rid of the ones that have 0% on. Now.
Oh, good. How the hell does one end a podcast?
You say bye. Most of the ones I listen to, they just say bye.
Because this is only like the first one, do we kind of have to beg people to come back?
Like, I guess we give out our Twitter handles, and
I ain't giving people shit yet. I want to know we've got an audience because I'm shouting my Twitter handle off.
This is assuming, Chris, that this is actually going to get to the internet.
This is true. This is almost like a practice run, isn't it?
Yeah.
I quite like the idea of us talking about proper new gaming issues whilst playing Jedi Power Battles on the Dreamcast.
Ah, even better.
Because I have a Dreamcast, we have multiple controllers, and I has the Jedi Power Battles.
Do you have Masters of Terrace Cassie?
No, I've just got Jedi Power Battles.
We need to play that. It's the only game where you can have Whore versus Fock as have an announcer say that.
We've also got Power Stone 1 and 2 that we could play on a stream.
God, I was actually meant to ask you a few weeks ago if I could borrow your copy of Power Stone just to play for a little bit, because I love Power Stone.
You've got to put the minigame on your VMU, man. You've got to.
Yeah.
You Fly Aces playing, it's so good.
Well, right, we've been recording for about 2 hours now.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, so I think we should probably end it here. Yeah, so I guess we just say bye.